probably have more to say. I'll come up with more to say. How do I sound? Do I sound okay?
Let's assume you'll talk more at your normal volume.
Oh, am I speaking too quietly?
No one has ever accused you of this before, I know. It's a grave accusation. Hi, I'm Joe Beal, the founder and CEO of Microcosm Publishing. I'm also the author of A People's Guide to Publishing, which distills what I've learned from selling millions of books over the past 28 years.
I'm Ellie Blue, the Vice President of Microcosm. We started this podcast to share what we've learned with newer publishers, so you can learn from our mistakes. Or maybe you just want to learn about the publishing industry.
Welcome back to virtual Pacific Northwest Booksellers Association's Fall Trade Show 2024. Just remember back a year ago when you were getting drizzled on in Portland, Oregon, and join us as we talk to booksellers about how they would like to see regional book shows change, as well as like what they like best about them.
I said like one or two conversations will make the show, and so but yet there's so much going on, and there might be somebody you could do a lot of follow-up with that could really change your business.
I love talking to booksellers. Like, they're such fun people. They just like really love books. They love reading, and like when they come up and I'm like, we have small press poetry, some of them are like, yes, that's my whole thing. And so I get to be like, well, I have got some books for you.
I went to Authors on Display, which I was nervous about, and feels like they're in a glass display case.
Yeah, sponsored kinds of presentations where your author gets up there and gets the limelight, and people really hear about the book, then they come to the booth and so on. And I also did the Rep Big Picks this year, and with this voice, which is my hoarse voice, and it was just delightful to see how many people are coming by and saying, oh, well, I heard you talk about that book. I said, you could hear me? Okay.
But Nettie Okorafor, someone that I've read everything, like she's a grandmaster of science fiction, and it was crazy after the presentation. Like hardly anyone was hanging out with her, and I just was like, hey, and I talked about science fiction with her for like 45 minutes. It was amazing.
One of my favorite presses, which I'm not supposed to have a favorite, but we all do. One of my favorites is Airlie Press, which is based in Portland, Oregon, and they have a really cool system. They're like a cooperative press, which means that when they publish someone's book, that person then comes on as an editor for the press for 2 years, which I love. I just think it's like so cool to have it really be like by poets for poets, and like the author gets really invested in the press. And I think that model really does get that investment from the author of being like, okay, I'm not only like handing off my work to the press, but then I have like such a huge role in marketing my own book as well as the book of these others that I now have seen go through the whole process.
Which of your books do you think listeners of our podcast would enjoy the most?
Well, I have to go with my book, Imagine a Door. It's coming out in April 2025, and it's basically a big hug for writers and people trying to figure out how publishing works.
World, where are you? Someone takes off their apron and they're cooking at a big party, and it's like totally ordinary, but then she shifts into a sentence fragment and she says, the apron strings hanging down against the chair, period. Right? And it's not even a full sentence. And I was just so moved by that, and I was like, that is like fiction revealing the ultimate truth of experience, that sensation can be so powerful, but it's so private and you can't explain it.
Something that was really important that I haven't seen in other books is looking at success and how people try to reach a success metric that doesn't actually exist because they are comparing themselves to what they see on social media. And a lot of the times you see someone on social media being successful and they've paid to get in the room, and not everybody can afford to do that. So I really wanted to focus on that in my book. There's also information about which direction an author might want to go, if they might want to get an agent or look at independent presses, and then how to tell independent presses apart based on distribution, and then how to write a query letter. So there's some how-to stuff in there, but a lot of it is just a big warm hug for writers who are working on getting their work into the world or trying to pick themselves up off the ground after another rejection.
Tchotchkes and Their Fucked Up Thoughts. Very excited. It's coming out in April. So the second one in the series, we had houseplants and their fucked up thoughts. Now I'm full title, yes, is tchotchkes and their fucked up thoughts. And I grew up where there were lots of tchotchkes was just a word that we totally use. So I think this is the most hilarious, amazing idea of these tchotchkes with all their thoughts. So that's going to be so fun.
Our newest book, The Revolution Will Be Well Fed. Our author and Corey Lockharty and I, we don't feel like the book is political. We've got topics like disability justice in the kitchen, the queer community, Black Lives Matter.
Melinda Lowe's Last Night at the Telegraph Club. Beautiful queer coming-of-age story of a young Chinese-American woman in San Francisco in the 1950s. Not only is it a beautiful story and a beautiful love story, it is actually a really brilliant take on the power of queer literature to help young people come into themselves.
The author's kind of core message is community over capitalism, and she really believes that like the average everyday person can make a change. You don't have to be like a figurehead of a social movement.
Not to hype Airly too much, but they recently came out with Slow Render by Jess Yuan, and I hadn't actually seen it before it was on our table at the show, and then I was looking at it, I was like, that is a gorgeous cover, which, you know, don't judge a book by its cover, but everyone does. So I think, like, it's not that I've had any bookstores that have been like, we're not going to carry this. Well, maybe if they think that, they just haven't replied to me. So if we have any left at the end of the show, I'm going to snag it.
And if you could change one thing about the show, what would that be?
If I could change anything about these events, I would say more romance for sure. I think romance books. Actually, both. I think there should be more romance authors and books at these events, because like Portland itself and like the PNBA alone has such a rich romance community, which is why I'm starting a store here.
I really wish that Unsolicited Press was able to make it. They were supposed to be here, and they had a break-in of some sort, and so they were not able to table. And so that's what I would change today.
You know, it's like first-timers orientation, and I just went because I'm a first-timer, but I'm a first-timer publisher. So there wasn't really. I mean, it was still valuable information, but I think there's some kind of middle ground there for, you know, publishers that want to get oriented.
No one carries business cards anymore. You ask for the business card, they don't have it. You take a picture of their chest, you have to do, you know, with their badge. And then you have to do all this research on how to send them a damn book.
So I wish they actually knew how big the mountain is to climb to get to them.
So I'm saying, please, can we do some sort of, you know, automated thing and just deliver the names, because that would be so helpful. I think the first trade organization that does that is declared the winner.
How expensive it is to do the work to get our books into their retail locations.
I just want like more information. I feel like sometimes I'm just left in the dark about so many things, and I want an easier way to access information.
I want there to be more small presses here, right? I don't want us to be like the biggest place to find those things. I want every table to have a little indie press, and for everyone to be able to get in front of these booksellers.
Street Smart on Ingram is different than an affidavit. And I was like, wait, what? And they were all laughing, and they were like, yeah, they were like, it seems like they be the same thing, but they're not. And I was like, why would they not be the same? And so I was like, I just feel like sometimes I think that we all forget how much we need each other.
Know that we are here for you. CLMP has a lot of resources. We've been around for a long time, so if you get in touch with us, we can let you know what those resources are.
Everyone deserves safety, dignity, access to resources, and so for us, that's not something that you have an opinion about.
It means that I get to figure out how to give money to people who are doing really good, passionate publishing work, which is a lot of fun.
Well, that was a bunch of very diplomatic and charming feedback.
And opinionated individuals.
Love them.
Mm-hmm. Everyone, especially the ones that didn't really want to, mess up anybody else's hair.
Yeah, and I mean, I think honestly, trade shows, we have our critiques, we have our ideas for how to do it better, but I think it's an institution worth putting our weight into and making it better.
And next week, we will tell you what those ideas are, so stay tuned and join us for that doozy.
What?
Thanks for joining us once again.
Please send your questions to podcast@microcosmpublishing.com so we can answer them on future episodes.
And please give us 5 stars on iTunes and everywhere else that podcasts are reviewed.
You can find us on the internet at microcosm.pub,
on Twitter at microcosm,
on Facebook at Microcosm Publishing,
on Instagram at microcosm_pub,
and here in Portland, Oregon on North Williams Avenue.
Thank you so much.
Have a wonderful week.